What's up, everybody? Welcome to tonight's episode of the Not Your Average Mark Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, the Tutorial Boss Guapo, and with me is a man whose hate for American crowds can only be matched by Sheiky Baby himself, the one and only Rick Elzy. Rick, what's up, man?
How you doing, John?
I'm doing all right.
I'm okay with being lumped in with the Sheik. The Sheik was pretty awesome.
I'm not going to say he wasn't. Sheik was cool. Got a lot of heat, though. Got to remember that.
Well, apparently I've got a lot of heat now, too. You know, even though all I've done is started to say the quiet things out loud. And I thought that's what we were doing in this country now. So, I don't know.
Well, it's definitely had an impact. Anybody following any kind of social medias can see the impact that it's having. And from what I understand, there was an announcement made about what's going to happen on May 24th?
Oh, are you referring to my town hall?
I am.
Yeah, well, there hasn't been an official announcement. I mentioned it to Richie. I commented on one of his many videos that he's been putting out, trying to be a journalist and dig into information that I don't know why he needs to dig. I said plainly at the show what I'd done. So, I mean, but yeah, continue. It's okay. I know you need content. Keep driving that engagement. Clickbait. But, you know, I just made and I wasn't even mean. I mean, everybody's taking me to task. Was I a little passive aggressive? Yeah. But I wasn't mean. I didn't cuss anybody out. But no, yeah, on May 24th, SCP will have a public town hall where I will address the roster, the staff, the fans, everyone. And that'll be the opening of the show. We're going to get out there. We're going to air all the dirty laundry. We're going to point to where all the bodies are buried. We're going to unlock all the locks, and we're going to just have ourselves a night of truth-telling, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
It sounds like it's going to be a good time. And I, for one, am looking forward to see how that plays out. But before we get into tonight, I do, of course, need to throw a few thank yous out there. Thank you to Ross and the boys from Labor 12 for our intro-outro music. Track's called Head Rush, album's called Monsters. They got some cool stuff going on. Check them out over at labor12.com. That's laborxii.com. Thank you to Joe and American Legacy for our awesome merchandise. Got some new stuff coming out. Gonna have some bandanas coming out. We've got the shirts that are coming out. We're gonna have some cool stuff coming soon. Big thank you to JRebs 3D Printing. See this piece of awesomeness right here? That's a JRebs 3D Printing original. If you've got a logo you'd like lit up like that, check him out, jrebs3dprinting.com. Thank you to heckyeahradio.com for giving us an area. If you happen to miss our podcast live, shame on you. But if it has to happen, you can hear the audio version at heckyeahradio.com by clicking on the Not Your Average Mark button. Thank you to Blind Ambition Studios for our awesome graphics. Thank you to WrestlingSociety.com for including us in their podcast room. As always, thank you to the guy for putting everything together. One of the things that has been put together lately, of course, we've got our website, NotYourAverageMark.com. But in addition to that, we now have a Discord, which at the end of the night tonight, feel free to go to our About section and get the link for that. We'd love to have you there. Got the opportunity to use our Discord Monday night, and I want to thank everybody who made it to the Discord. We had a Raw watch along. Rick, you were there. Appreciate you being there.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Like we talked. We went over what was happening on Raw. It was a lot of fun, and I invite everybody to come join the Discord because we will be doing it again tomorrow night for SmackDown. Be a live watch along, chance to hang out with the community and watch some SmackDown. So I invite everybody to join us. So that being said, all the thank yous out of the way, let's get into some main roster moments. Now, you may notice as we go through this, the format's changed just a little bit. Instead of doing a full rundown, since we're doing the watch-alongs, I don't feel like I need to do the full rundown, so we're going to hit some of the big things and talk about them a little bit. The first being Randy Orton and Cody having their moment in the ring. A bit unexpected for me. I did like that Randy, gave Cody all the flowers. Like that was really cool. And told him face to face, look, you make it through this, I'm coming for your belt, just so you know. Like, I thought it was cool, and it was a good moment. Of course, it was interrupted by Drew McIntyre, and we'll get into that later, but you don't really get moments like this very often.
Well, the beautiful thing about Triple H's tenure as the creative guy is that he loves to plant seeds. He loves to then take a few months to water them, and then they'll sprout when it's time. And everybody has said from day one when Cody showed up that eventually at some point we're going to have Cody and Randy. That's going to happen. And I love that they're taking their time. I love that they haven't hot shot right to that. I love that they have given each guy enough to do that keeps them away from each other. And I think that this was just an opportunity to have them plant another little seed and pour some water on it. And we'll see what happens. We'll see where it goes. But the beautiful thing about Triple H is that right now, it's hard to pinpoint where he's going with stuff. And I love it.
It is. And that's one of the beauty things about it. There was a time that you could look at the match card for Raw and be like, okay, this person's going over. They're trying to push this person. Like, you had everything figured out before you ever watched the show. And those days are gone.
Oh, he's swerving people left and right. He's changing titles before major shows. He's doing all kinds of stuff. He is keeping everybody on their toes, and it's beautiful.
Well, and one other thing that's happening, and I really, really like this, is there's storylines inside storylines inside storylines. You take the fact that Randy and Cody at some point are going to go head to head. But you can also throw in there the fact that they have a common enemy in Kevin Owens. So there's so many different ways you can go with that. And so it's just storylines inside of storylines, and I love it. I love it every minute.
Yeah, I mean, they both have history with Punk. They both have history with Heyman. They both have history with Roman. They both have history with The Rock. There's so every major person that's involved, they both have history with Rollins. Every major person that's in that upper tier to main event level, everyone is connected to everyone through at least one or two pathways, which means we can move people in and out at will. And it's amazingly intricate, but it's very, very elegant as well.
It's their own little Spider-Verse.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
And one of the things I like about that is that Randy did make mention, Seth Rollins and Cody's match with Seth Rollins where he had his pec injured. He made mention of him finishing the story with Roman. Like these top tier names, he's gone through and named them. So there's any number of directions it could go, and I love it. I love the fact that they're doing it, and I think Triple H. I can't say enough good about the Triple H era of WWE.
When Randy's running all that stuff down, what I take away from that is a reward for us as viewers for watching and paying attention, because Triple H is not allowing us to forget anything. He is recalling to moments. He's going back. He's bringing stuff up. He's making everything mean something. He's not throwing anything to the side, and that's absolutely awesome.
I agree wholeheartedly. And one of the things that I like is he doesn't mind the slow burn, which brings me to my next point: Solo and Jacob. Like, I love the way they're slow burning this, and it is starting to pick up some more heat now. We're getting Jacob, going from "I love you, Solo" to "stay the hell out of my matches." and it was funny to me to see Solo say, "Hey, you need to watch your tone when you talk to me." Like, it's the tension.
I absolutely, because it's almost like he is trolling the fan base that loves to binge and move fast, and I need my immediate gratification. I want everything now. Triple H is in no hurry to get anywhere.
Mm-mm. And he doesn't have to.
And
That's the beauty part.
and I love that he'll push some stuff forward, and then he'll grab it and pull it back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to be rage inducing to the mouth breathers and the window lickers who can't deal with, anything at a pace. So I mean, that people are losing their minds over that stuff, but it's the best storytelling.
It's the best way to tell a story. Leave them wanting more. Like it's that simple. Leave them wanting more. Before we get into talking about Solo and Jacob a little more, I want to say what's up to Mary Youngblood, made her way to the chat. Mary, glad to have you here. This whole thing with Solo and Jacob, like everybody is throwing their predictions out there with Solo and Jacob at WrestleMania. I don't think there's any chance in hell that happens. That's way too quick, and I think there's still a lot of burn to this before we get that match.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting Solo and Jacob at Mania at all. I really don't. I would be very surprised if we did. I think that's easily a SummerSlam match.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what they're going to do with Jacob at Mania. But I mean, honestly, unless they're going to do several multi-man, multi-women matches for these mid-card titles, I'd like to see Jacob and LA Knight for the U.S. title. I feel like Jacob Fatu beating LA Knight for the belt, that'd be a great WrestleMania moment, and LA Knight would be able to survive it as a character. So
it would, and it opens up this. It starts driving the wedge even more with Solo and Jacob. Gives Jacob the opportunity to say, "Where's your gold? I'm champ." So, get in line. Like it gives the dissension that's needed. And like you said, it doesn't hurt LA Knight. He can survive that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I see it going, is probably Jacob and LA Knight, if it's not a multi-man match that includes Braun Strowman and maybe Solo and Tama also. I don't know.
I mean, right now, when you look at the lineup and you look at the card, it would be very easy, and I don't know that I would really enjoy this many of them, but it would be very easy to do a multi-man for both men and women's Intercontinental and both men and women's U.S. title. Mm-hmm. You could do 4 ways, 6 ways, ladder match. I mean, whatever. You can do a ton of stuff, but I really like the fact that this year's Mania has been such a slow build, and that the matches we have been so deliberately put together and focused on. I would really be okay if this year's Mania didn't have but maybe one multi-person match, and then if there were maybe 20 people that weren't on the card. Because you have to remember, there is the SmackDown before Mania, which is usually treated as a pre-show to Mania. And then you've got the Raw the next night. You could absolutely load those 2 shows up with big matches that didn't quite make it to Mania.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, it's all one. I mean, let's be honest. It's one giant package. So, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like one multi-man match. Remember when Money in the Bank was a WrestleMania match? Mm-hmm. I mean, like one big match like that, but you don't need 4 ways or 4 6 ways. You don't need that.
Well, we've already got 2 that I'm. One is a for sure triple threat, and one I feel is going to be a triple threat, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
So one of the things I really enjoyed, of course, Drew McIntyre having a match with Randy Orton. Kevin Owens comes out. Drew wins the match. Mm-hmm. He's leaving. He's happy as can be. That's the happiest I've seen the Scotsman in a long time. And he walks out the door. Kathy Kelly stops and says, "Hey, what do you got going on?" He's like, "I'm going to go to the pub and I'm going to have a good time and I'm invite everybody. I'm so happy. Yay, me." opens the door, and there's Damian Priest, whom he had just said has no balls. And so Damian Priest beats the hell out of him and gives him a south of heaven into, off the hood of a car into the windshield, which brings me to my next point. CM Punk is the perfect troll. And I say that because in this moment, CM Punk's walking with his security and everything, and he sees Drew laying there going, I got glass in my eye, I got glass in my eye. CM Punk, for those that aren't aware, was fired from AEW over a fight with Jungle Boy Jack Perry over the use of real glass as opposed to fake glass. So the fact that he just trolled the hell out of AEW without saying a single word.
That was really good.
He didn't say a single. He just looked over there and went, huh, and walked, and it was the best troll ever.
I was a big fan of the tongue-in-cheek Undertaker reference because in the ring, Drew said that guy liner wearing Timu Undertaker Damian Priest.
Yep.
And then when Damian did the move on the thing, he said, "Rest in peace, jackass." Like that was great. It was like we did it and came back. It was awesome.
Not only did Punk pull that one off, but I believe it was last week. He was on the mic talking about the fact that he works with children, which is a direct callback to something he said sitting beside Tony Khan, where he says, "I'm old, I'm hurt, I'm tired, and I work with children." It was a direct callback, and I loved it. He is such a good troll. As we're talking about CM Punk, though, let's get into the contract signing, because that's what everybody was waiting for. After the references that were given, everybody's waiting for the contract signing. So we get Roman Reigns come out and sits down, gets ready for the contract signing. Of course, the wise man with him. Seth Rollins comes out and starts talking, we did this, we did that. And apparently Roman Reigns needed to remind him that they were in London, not France, with all this we talk. Roman says, we died a long time ago. I did this. I built this. And out comes CM Punk. And CM Punk made a reference that I was so happy to hear. I love it. Steps into the ring, says, I'm here, and delivers it the way it should be delivered. I'm here to chew bubblegum and sign a contract. And I'm all out of bubblegum. An obvious homage to Rowdy Piper and They Live. I thought it was great. So we get to the contract signing. Roman is signed, Seth is signed, and Punk's looking through it, flipping through each page. And I love Roman Reigns' reaction to that. What do you need, a highlighter? What are you doing? This is TV, son. Let's go. Get a move on. Turn to page 4. Like I love that.
Yeah.
So he's looking through it, and finally Paul Heyman says, look, I know what you're looking for, and it's there. You are closing the show. CM Punk, you will be a WrestleMania main eventer. And Seth Rollins lost his shit.
Oh, yeah, he was pissed because that's been his whole mission, was to deny CM Punk that very thing, and now he's got it. So, yeah, Seth's character should have been livid.
And he was absolutely livid. Told Roman Reigns, this is your fault, and Paul Heyman, this is your fault. And I love that Paul Heyman's like, my fault? But the thing I think I like the most about that is when it's all said and done, Punk's thinking people, and the emotion from Punk was something you don't see very often from the CM Punk character.
No, I'm sure. I 100% believe that emotion was real.
I do too.
100% believe that.
Because it has been, since he got in the game, it has been his dream to main event WrestleMania. I mean, if you put it side by side, it's almost as big and as long going as Cody finishing the story. Punk that's been the dream all along. So Roman Reigns tells him, whoa, 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 whoa. Who are you thinking? You got one person to think. You need to thank your tribal chief. And the way he sets the mic down and says, now here, do it right. It just sits back. I thought that was funny. But he does. He says, and in a Triple H era, you have to pay attention to everything.
Mm-hmm.
He says, acknowledge your tribal chief and thank me. And Paul Heyman said, don't do it.
Yeah, Paul was behind Roman going.
So you have to watch everything. But he was like, don't do it.
Yeah.
But he does. He gets down and says, thank you, my tribal chief, which it was weird to hear those words come out of that mouth.
Yeah.
Thank you for setting this up to where you have to face me in the main event of WrestleMania. And he threw the CM Punk spin on it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But the very last thing he said is going to bring us into our next topic, which is, but that's not the favor I'm owed. Cut the camera. Done.
Yeah.
That's what we left off on. And everybody's like, what? Because that was the thought is they're going to make it a WrestleMania main event. That's the favor. And they played into that until Punk says, that's not the favor I'm owed. So that brings us to our next point, the favor. What is the favor?
Well, I know, and I think the two of us are in agreement. I do believe the favor is going to be essentially that Heyman leaves Roman and joins Punk.
I do
in some form or fashion.
But because it's the only thing Paul Heyman has the pull.
It's the only thing he has control over. Yeah, it's the only thing he has control over. But here's the one thing that is jumping out at me, and I've mentioned this before. You'll recall that I've mentioned this before. That main event for Punk, that's all he's got.
Mm-hmm.
That's been his sole hanging story from the moment he came back. So they're paying this off now. He has nothing else. He can have tons of matches. He can have feuds. He can have but he no longer has a goal.
Mm-hmm.
The goal was Mania. He now has that. And what generally happens in wrestling to characters who have come to the end of their arc, what do we normally do with those characters to freshen them up? We flip them.
Yep.
So if Heyman is the favor himself, could Punk be the third man?
I mean, it's possible. It is a possibility.
Because Heyman has that phone for The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Could Heyman and Punk be in it with Cena and Rock?
It's possible, and more than possible, it's a likelihood, I think. One thing I will say, I saw a video that I had long forgotten about right after Paul Heyman was dismissed from CM Punk way back when.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul Heyman told him, center of the ring, one day, not anytime soon, but one day, I'm going to walk down the aisle with you in the main event of WrestleMania. This was years ago.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But what a payoff to go from one of these days, I'm going to walk down the aisle with you at the main event of WrestleMania, to I want you to walk down the aisle with me at WrestleMania.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they show that footage and reference that moment.
I hope they do.
Just because of the era we're living in, where everything means something, and we're using footage to call back to moments.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that I think everyone will agree, whether you like WWE or not, whether you're anti-WWE or not. I don't know that there is a legitimate argument that could be made that there is a company out there that uses video packages to the level that WWE does.
No, there's not a company
So,
that comes close.
I mean, yeah, so I could absolutely see them calling back to that very moment and showing that footage.
And I hope they do. I really do, because it's just think about the full circle there.
Oh, yeah, it's a huge full circle moment. Huge.
Because that was what, 2010 ish?
Yeah.
2011?
Yeah. Yeah.
So all that time ago and just come back around and have CM Punk quote exactly what Paul Heyman said.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Trips, because we know you're listening. I mean, this is a thing that needs to happen. Call me later. We'll talk about it. All in all, good SmackDown. Like I dug it. I enjoyed it. Before we get into Raw, I want to remind everybody, if you like what you're seeing, if you like what's going on here, please go to all the socials, click all the things, the likes, the shares, the subscriptions, all the things. Click them all. It helps us out, lets us see where people are at and where we need to, have some more content. That being said, let's get into Raw and what it was a masterclass in delivering a promo.
So good.
I was so enamored by the John Cena Cody Rhodes promo from the beginning, where Cody's like, no. You've been talking for 2 weeks. Let me do your job for you. And goes into the whole Eminem 8 Mile thing where he's like, I know everything he's fixing to say about me. I have a lisp. I have an arm tattoo on my neck. I got fired from a company I created, which was, again, another AEW reference. Like, he just throws it all out there, which the crowd ate that up, of course.
Oh, yeah.
But then Cena, being Cena, says, you know what, I'm not going to stoop to your level, and I'm not going to cook you. I'm going to bury you. Because everybody's been saying for years that John Cena buries talent. I don't bury talent, I am talent. And proceeds to just lay it down that you're too polished.
He said, I bury mediocrity.
That's right, I bury mediocrity.
And Wade Barrett was sitting right there. Right there.
Yep.
Like that's the only thing that I think they missed, was a chance to have the camera cut to Barrett and have Barrett be like, what? I mean, that was the only thing I think they didn't deliver on, because for him to say that line with Barrett right there, 12 feet from him,
yep,
that's balls.
See, J-Reb is over in the chat. What's up, Cameron? Glad you can make it. He caught the Eminem feel off of it too for Cody's part of it. Said he had mom's spaghetti on his sweater already. So it was a whole thing. But he just laid into him and said, you are mediocre at best, and you with that disgusts me. I thought that was a good line from that. And talks about how I have worked so hard to make that mean something, and all they've proven to me is they can take the heartbeat of the company, put it on somebody mediocre, and trick all the fans. And just laid into him. And one of the things he said that was just kind of a gut shot was, I create empires for billionaires. You just steal money from their kids. I was like, damn.
Yeah, that was rough.
It was crazy, but then you had Cody. Cody ain't no slouch, and Cody comes back and says, we used to ride together. You like them, or you used to like me, and I know you like them. The whole Pancho and Lefty thing was kind of cool. That was a cool reference. But he said he starts just laying into John Cena about, I'm trying to remember exactly how he said some of this. Some of his better lines in that.
Well, he talked about how Cena wasn't being truthful with fans, and how Cena had sold out to The Rock, and he threw up the whole. What was the other thing that he said?
I remember he said, maybe you're right. Maybe I was chosen, but I was chosen by them. And who
Yes.
chose you? What? There's a man in the office that we don't talk about anymore.
Yes.
Which
Yeah, some man sitting in a chair in an office who's no longer here, and we don't talk about him anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was like, so we've referenced AEW, we've referenced Vince McMahon. Just this whole thing was like, damn.
But then he did the whole, you're still my hero,
But
you're also a piece of shit.
That was his exact line. John, you are still my hero, but also a piece of shit. And I think the line I popped for the hardest was after John Cena just laid it all out there for him, told him straight up, there was more dick in that promo than there is in your jorts. I was like, what?
Yeah, they took such broad swings at each other. That's what's so cool is like to be able to say such awful crap, knowing that you're building the foundation for something really good. I love that. I love it. It came off as very, very real. They were taking some real shots. It was good. But, then it all came down to, Cena tried to smoke him a little bit at the end, with the whole billionaires line and, see you at WrestleMania, champ, and then Cody was all like, hey, there's one thing that they've never chanted at me, and that is you can't wrestle.
Yep, and that brought Cena right back in the ring.
That's what did it. That's what got him back in the ring. That's the one thing that got under his skin. And yeah, so then we got that moment, and Cena got laid out by Crossroads. Which, if this was the last Raw before Mania, I would say ensures that Cena's winning at Mania, But we still got 2 weeks. So.
Well, and one of the things that Cena said that the crowd kind of got behind, which surprised me, was you're too perfect, you're too polished, you're too rehearsed. And the crowd kind of got behind that, which surprised me a little bit. He says, strip away your entrance and your music, and you're left with a thick pinstripe suit.
Yeah. And the thing is that all kind of goes back to my original fear about this potential match anyway, because this really is very reminiscent of Hogan Rock. Mm-hmm. In the sense that this is a true kind of pass the torch moment. And the crowd is not necessarily going to play with the story. They're going to cheer who they want to cheer. And so, that's what I was afraid of to begin with. I didn't know that Cody would have enough to get over the nostalgia pop. So, again, to see them kind of flip a little bit in the middle of that promo, it makes me wonder if we're not going to have a moment at Mania where they have to switch roles and Cody has to play the heel for a little bit.
It's a strong possibility. And Mary Youngblood in the chat saying he does only have 5 moves to his belt. I was impressed that they did not reference that, because everybody that talks shit about John Cena references the 5 moves of doom, and no reference to that. And kudos to him for that. Yeah. So it was
they didn't go for a lot of low-hanging fruit. It wasn't until Cody's last comment that we really got some of the low-hanging fruit. But it was the low-hanging fruit that brought him back to the ring, which shows how insecure he is about that particular piece of fruit.
Well, and it plays in well to what he's doing with it, saying that, when I did this, you cheered me. When I did this, you booed me. When I when I speak in rhythmic tones, you chant what, which was great. Uh, it's all about the fan interaction, and then to say that the fans had chanted "You can't wrestle," it all plays, and I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
I will go as far as to say if they don't get face to face, if that's the last thing we see of Cody Rhodes and John Cena before Mania, it was enough.
I think it was enough. I think it's very possible that we get one more surprise attack, because I really do think that as long as Cody is champion, or as long as Cody is the baby face headed into Mania, he is his dad's son. And I think that pre-Mania Bloody Cody is going to be something we get a lot of for the next few years. So,
Probably.
I do think that we're going to get something. I think Cena is going to pop up unannounced, unadvertised.
I don't know if it's going to be Cena, because I wonder if we're going to get Rock Cody.
It could. We could get another Rock Mania moment where pre-Mania moment where Rock does the beatdown. We absolutely could.
That's kind of what I'm thinking we may end up seeing. And then I'd love to see, just because it's the way it ended, get the pre-Mania beatdown on Cody from The Rock, and then have Cena just come over there, grab his hat, and throw it on top of Cody and walk off. Because that's exactly what Cody did to Cena, was pick his hat up and throw it on him. So I'd love to see that be what happens. He gets the beat down and Cena takes his hat and throws it on top of Cody. Either way, it's gonna be good. Like, I'm excited for this match.
Yeah, it is gonna be good.
Logan Paul. I don't think it's any secret to anybody that I am not a fan of Logan Paul as a person. I'm not a fan of Logan Paul on the mic. But in the ring, I cannot deny how good Logan Paul is. And
he really is.
Toe-to-toe with AJ Styles, it was, it's awesome to see. But that finisher, what do they call it? The pulverizer?
The pulverizer, yeah.
That finisher is absolutely insane. And I don't know how long he had to work in the PC to get that down, but man, and I thought the first time I saw it, I thought, okay, he did that because it was Ray, and I could do that to Ray. Ray's like this tall. But to do it to AJ Styles, it's like, damn, like that's effective.
I think he's going to beat AJ at Mania.
Unfortunately, so do I.
Yeah.
I'm not real excited about it, but I do feel like that's what's going to happen.
Logan Paul doesn't get many wins. He really doesn't. He doesn't get many wins because he doesn't have to have them, because he's a heat magnet. He's like the Miz. He's a heat magnet. So he doesn't really have to win a lot. But I feel like the fact that he's getting to work AJ, I feel like it's very possible that AJ asked for this match, and AJ's going to put him over because he respects his athleticism.
Well, and I feel like, as much as I hate to say it, because I love me some AJ Styles, but I feel like we're at that point in AJ's career where that's what he's going to be doing for a little while, just putting people over. Yeah. Which is exactly, I mean, who better to put somebody over than AJ Styles? But
oh, yeah. I mean, look, if AJ spends the last few years of his contract putting people over en route to a Hall of Fame induction, and then ends up as a coach in NXT or the PC, come on. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
No, that is exactly the way that should happen.
How awesome would it be for the kids in Evolve and NXT and the ID program and all the stuff that they've got going on, and the endless amount of talent that they're going to churn out over the next 10 years? How awesome would that to have, a couple of classes with AJ Styles stamp on them?
Oh, it'd be great. Like, I mean, I feel like that's where we should be going.
Yeah.
Our next thing is kind of, it's it was hard to watch. We're going to talk about Jimmy, Jay, and Gunther.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay,
Really
so
good.
I mean, we already knew that Jay was in his head
Yeah.
about can I beat Gunther, and then we had
Yeah.
the slap heard round the world from Jimmy to Gunther,
Yeah.
which that everybody talking about that. Before I get too far into that, J Reb says one thing I'll say about Logan is that he has more talent and can actually back his words up, unlike his brother who has to fight old people. You make a point there, Cameron. You make a point.
See, I want Jake Paul to come in, and I want the two of them to tag up.
Oh, shit.
I would, dude. That's money. That's money. You get the tag belts on the Paul brothers. I mean, can you build up a young babyface tag team? I mean, come on,
I
that's
would take
money.
that is
That's
money. It's money, but come on, man. I don't watch them.
But it's not about watching them; it's about wanting them to die.
That's true. That's true.
The best part of it.
Well, and I talking about dying. I think Jimmy may have. I'm not 100% there. So we
That
get the
was
match.
It was like a horror movie.
It was. So we get the match with Jimmy and Gunther. They're having a decent match. Gunther, takes him out. He fights back. It's good back and forth right up until the end where Gunther goes for the pin and then picks him up. And then goes for the pin and then picks him up and just keeps beating him. Talking about, where's your brother? Where's your brother? And so when it's time, of course, Jay comes down to make the save. Ends up with the handcuffs from security.
Zip tie. He's
The zip tie handcuffs. And Gunther zip ties him to the ropes. Now, I had some questions there because I will neither confirm nor deny whether or not I have ever been in zip tie handcuffs. Nor will I confirm nor deny that they're not that hard to break. I had some question about that. I've been told that perhaps they're not as stout as those were. But it was a good angle to have him like inches away from his brother and unable to do anything. So Jim tries to get back in, and Gunther hits him with the belt. Just knocks the shit out of him with the belt. And we cut back to him taunting Jay, and so Jimmy tries to get back in, and he's just covered in blood.
Yeah.
I mean, he's cut all across his forehead, and it's just dripping blood everywhere.
Yeah.
It was, like you said, something out of a horror movie because Gunther beats the hell out of him, puts him in the chokehold or puts him in a sleeper hold and wraps the legs. Gunther's got blood all over his chest, on the side of his face.
Gunther ended up with more blood on him than Jimmy did, and Jimmy was the one bleeding.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Gunther looked like an extra from Carrie.
I
mean, it was just everywhere. And
it was wild.
To your point about the handcuffs, the reason that Jay couldn't get out of the handcuffs, he's not the Uso who spends the most time in handcuffs.
You make a point.
The one that knew how to get out of them was the one who was bleeding to death on the mat.
So, unfortunately, I don't think we see Jimmy for a while. But
I think we see him at Mania. My
interest is, what do we get on Raw Monday? I feel like we get Jey Uso come out. I feel like there's none of this. There's no yeet.
Oh, no.
We're going to get a focused, angry, ready to fight Jey Uso come Monday.
It would be really funny if they open Raw with the entrance, with the yeet entrance, and everybody's doing the yeet, and it's Gunther who walks out doing the yeet from the stage.
Trips, he's been drinking. Don't listen to him. That would be funny. No, that would be good.
That'd be the ultimate troll move by Gunther.
Well, and I don't know if you saw this or not. If you follow any of WWE's socials, every now and then they post things that you don't see on television.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things they posted was Gunther covered in blood, walking in the back and saying, "This is your final warning. Back out of this match, or I'm going to end you."
Yeah,
and it was good. But I think Monday we get a different Jey Uso. I think we get a very serious, very angry Jey Uso.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping for it, as a matter of fact.
Can I give you a Vince McMahon nightmare scenario?
Please do.
I saw something online today. I saw a post that was going around that suggested that somebody on the Mania card is hurt and that something's going to change.
Okay.
And they didn't say what or who or how much. With him doing the whole "you have to back out or bad things are going to happen, I killed your brother, blah, blah, blah," all that stuff. What if Jay's hurt and he has to back out? And then at Mania, there's an open challenge, and it's Goldberg, and he comes down and does to Gunther what he did to Lesnar at Survivor Series.
No. Stop putting things in the ether.
I'm just saying, if you really want to ruin everybody's WrestleMania, that's a great way to do it.
That would do it. No.
Because then that would necessitate the Gunther rematch where Gunther destroys and retires Goldberg.
But you still got to get the redemption from Jay. You've got to get "you killed my brother, you dirty rat, you killed my brother."
Well, yeah, which can happen after Goldberg dies.
And yes, I did go Cagney on that for those who want to know.
You should have thrown in the "ooh, you dirty rat."
"You dirty rat, you killed my brother." Now I need Jay to do that.
No.
No, there's going to be a lot of anger there. And as we're talking about anger, that brings us to our next topic here. And that is the Rhea, Io, and Bianca. The match between Rhea Ripley and Io Sky was absolute gold. It was a great match. Bianca, for having never refereed before, and she was out of position so much in that match. Being somebody that knows kind of how that works, I'm like, get in position.
I love that. I love that she was out of position because she was all pissed off when they told her she was going to ref anyway. She was like, "What are you talking about?" So I love that she was completely aloof. I thought it was great.
Well, while the match was great, Bianca took a solid shot from Rhea Ripley, and then a solid shot from Io Sky, and then called the match. Double disqualification. Hell with both of you. Which angered mommy a lot.
Yeah, sure did.
There is no way in any world this does not turn into a triple threat at Mania.
I fully believe that is exactly what's going to happen. I love the fact that this was probably set to be a triple from the beginning, and I love that it got out, that people were talking about it, and I love that Triple H has taken like 4 weeks of non-decisions in one form or another to stretch this out as long as he possibly could. Again, I think he's trolling the idiots. And I love it. I love it. I think it's great.
J-Reb saying that it's definitely going to be a 3-way. The setup was too good. Agreed. 100% agreed. This match for me, I like that we're getting We're not getting, okay, this is the women's champion and she's going to go against her and this is how it's going to happen. We're getting, no, I'm going to sign my name on the contract. Now there's got to be this match and we're going to drive Adam Pearce crazy. And we're going to make you the special guest referee. And now Io is still the champ, so she's going against Bianca. But is Rhea just going to sit and let that happen? Like, I like that we're getting all of this.
I wonder, because it is 2 nights.
Yes.
I wonder if there is the possibility that we do the Luger, Bret Hart, Yokozuna thing, and we end up saying Bianca's going to get the shot with Io on night 1, and Rhea faces the winner on night 2.
I could see it.
Because that is a possibility.
And it that keeps us from having another multi-person match.
It does. But it also takes a slot away from one night that would be available if we did have the triple, which keeps potentially 2 to 4 people off the show.
True, but we could load them up on SmackDown or Raw.
True. SmackDown, yeah, that's the whole thing. I mean, I like the idea of 7 per night because that's what we had last year was 7 per night. So, 14 over 2 nights, I think it's a sweet spot. It's a perfect number of matches. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so don't deter from that. And don't force people onto the show that don't have to be there.
Agreed. That is the mistake I think AEW makes more often than not. Which, before I say anything about AEW, Raw was great, enjoyed it, thought the Rhea Io Bianca thing was a great way to end the show. Mm-hmm. Way happy with it. I'm hoping the guy is sitting at his desk because it is now time for Notes from the Clown Show. All right, so before we get into the real clowny kind of stuff, I do want to say congratulations to Ricochet and Samantha Irving on tying the knot. It's about time. So they did that recently. I'm happy for them. As much as Ricochet is not my favorite, I am happy.
Do you think that Ricochet's vows were as bad as his promos?
God, I hope not.
And did he end his vows with that stupid noise that he copied from Will Smith?
I hope so. But much like I feel like in the speaking portion of their wedding, much like in everything else, Samantha Irving had to carry that. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. I will say
if she shows up in AEW and she's connected to him, it is totally going to end up being a Sable Mark Marrow situation where she's going to completely overshadow him and become the star.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I will say this about Samantha Irving. I'm not sure whether I believe it or not, but there was a rumor started that she has been asked to come do a one-off at WWE to announce the Cena Cody Rhodes match. I mean, I wouldn't hate it.
I mean, I don't hate it, but I mean,
the rumor is that it was a request from Cody. So,
I mean, honestly, I'd rather it be Cody's wife do it so that Cena or Rock could get some heat on her.
I keep hoping they will involve Brandy. Like they haven't done it much. They did it at WrestleMania last year on his entrance, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and get into the clown show. I'm going back to talking about Cody, and he don't work here no more. So please tell me, why is Tony Storm carrying this company? As much as I was taken aback by the formation of Thunder Tits, she, with her promos, is carrying this company.
I agree. I agree. I do think she is the best thing they have going right now. Um, I think that she is coming into her own. She was very untapped as a talent in WWE.
Mhm.
She was just doing her Tony Storm indie girl wrestler character, through NXT UK, to the main roster. She
Mhm.
was just doing the indie Tony Storm. This was the first time that she got to actually be creative, do something cool outside of the box, and I'll give Tony Khan all the credit for letting her do that. She has made herself marketable, and when her contract comes up, there's going to be a bidding war for her.
Oh, 100%.
So it's and hopefully she owns that character.
I hope so.
So because we do live in an era where people are they're very conscious of their trademarks, and
Mm.
people are copywriting their own material and getting their own trademarks. So hopefully she's been smart enough to do all that.
No, it is important that you do the copyright thing. Not your average mark. Copyright 2025. Should say. But my thing with Tony Storm is, I watched a promo she cut. I believe it was on Penelope Ford.
Yeah.
And talked about, you beat me, and I laid there. And I wondered, am I good enough? And so I laid in my bed. And when I woke up, I was covered in sweat, more so than usual. So I got up, went to the bathroom, I took a piss, I hit my head on the sink, and when I came to, I sat up because I remembered who the hell I am. The crowd went nuts. Like, they went on this entire journey through this promo, and she's carrying the company.
Yeah.
She is the thing that allows this stupid stuff with Jon Moxley to happen.
Yeah.
They can let that happen because Tony Storm is there.
Yep. And the
All right.
Jon Moxley stuff isn't going anywhere, dude. Get ready.
Oh, I know.
It ain't going anywhere.
We're going to talk about that. Before we do, we're going to go to next thing, which is Cope. I can't.
No.
Cope has made it a point to tell everybody, I'm going to get out there and I want to put younger talent over. When? When is he going to put anybody over?
Well, and here's another thing, and people, I think, just choose to remember what they want to remember. If you go back to Adam Copeland Edge, his last run in WWE, he didn't have a great track record for putting a lot of people over there either. So,
now,
I mean,
I heard an explanation on why he hasn't been pinned, why he doesn't get pinned. And it's not because, according to him, it's not because he refuses to lose or he refuses to put anybody over. It's because he has a back issue and can't lay on the mat for very long. You can't lay on the mat for a 3 count? Then you don't need to be in wrestling. This was an honest to God explanation on why he doesn't get pinned. Is because his back is hurt and he can't lay flat on the mat for very long at a time.
So then have somebody do a crucifix pin where you're laying like this and your shoulders are on the mat.
But have you forgot what we're talking about?
That's true. Yeah.
Speaking of which, last thing, Tony Khan, you clown, says that crazy violent shit. Oh, we're going to do a lot more of that because that's what my fans love. He is booking straight for the marks.
Yep. I'm going to tell you right now. I don't want to be right. I don't want to be right. I'm happy to be right if I am, and I will happily tell people that I was. But I'm not hoping for it. I just believe it. I believe that sometime, maybe not this year, but definitely in the next 2 years, there is going to be a major, major, major public relations catastrophe. I don't know if it's going to be a death or a paralyzation or something. Something is going to happen in an AEW ring. And that's going to be the moment that everybody who has been apologizing for this ridiculous shit is going to have to own it, because you all are the ones who facilitated it by making an excuse for it.
And I feel like there's two names that top that list, and that's Jon Moxley and
Darby Allin.
Darby Allin, yeah. Darby Allin's already at that point. Yeah. And if they're going to allow him to do more crazy shit like that,
it may not even be one of those two. It may be an innocent bystander because of something one of those two does.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the real the guys who are willing to do it are never the ones who get hurt.
No, it's
always on other people because it was allowed. And I 100% believe that in the next 2 years, some public relations nightmare due to violence and the acceptance of it and the pushing of it and the no consequences take on it. It's going to befall AEW, and it's going to be catastrophic.
And I'm very concerned that he's going to get
another. The industry will have yet another unnecessary black eye.
Mm-hmm. And my biggest concern is Tony Khan's need to book for his marks and do what they want is going to get somebody killed.
Yeah.
And he does so. Why? Because Tony Khan, you are a clown. Yeah. And that was Notes from the Clown Show. So we started a new thing this week. We call it Wrestling Talk Wednesday, and it goes on our socials. We're going to ask a question every Wednesday. Want to get everybody's opinions on the topic so we can talk about them here, and that's what we're about to do. Before we do, apparently some flowers being thrown out for you, Rick. Mary Youngblood saying Rick's a better booker by far.
Well, that's very nice. I appreciate that, Mary.
I mean,
and not everybody shares that opinion.
I mean, I've never been to a bad Squared Circle Pro. I've never called you a clown. So, just saying.
Yeah.
So for Wrestling Talk Wednesday this week, the question was, what was the greatest heel turn ever? And we've had some interesting answers. The very first one, of course, is probably the biggest one and the most popular. And that is Bash at the Beach 96, Hogan turning on the entire world and joining the NWO as the third man.
Yeah.
I mean, I
don't see how anything beats that.
I don't either, honestly. I mean, there's some good ones in here, but I don't think anything beats it.
No, I mean, look at what it did.
It changed the landscape of wrestling, televised wrestling.
Up until that moment, WCW had been extremely cartoony.
Mm-hmm.
WWE in '96 was extremely cartoony.
Good guy, bad guy.
The business didn't start to change until the fall of the fall of '97. But it started that summer when the biggest cartoon character of the last decade put on black and white and told the fans to stick it.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, it changed the landscape of televised wrestling.
Yeah.
So that, for me, that is the biggest. But there are some other good ones on the list. Alex Escamilla gave one to us that goes over to the Clown Show, and that was Adam Cole turning on MJF. I wanted so much out of that. And, you know, we finally get the reveal, and there it is, and then nothing.
Well, because they pulled the trigger knowing that Adam Cole wasn't clear.
Mm-hmm.
And that you should have put that on. You should have waited for that. You could have put that story. You could have very easily put that story on the back burner and brought it out when you could. But they hot-shotted it, and it didn't go anywhere. They wasted
It
it.
died. Yeah, it was 100% wasted. It died.
Shocking. Yeah, good moment when it happened, but it was kind of a waste.
Yeah, I really wanted to see more out of that one, especially with all the build up about them being friends and
Yeah.
It could have been so much more. But once again, Tony Khan is a clown. Seth Rollins turning on the Shield, joining the Authority.
That was a good one.
It was. You don't end up with Seth freaking Rollins without that happening. You don't end up with the tribal chief without that happening. And maybe Dean Ambrose would have stayed and not been John Moxley and with, I don't know. But it created some superstars that moment.
Yeah, it was good.
Reaching back a little bit, the Rockers. Shawn Michaels put Marty Jannetty through a window. That was a big moment.
That was a big moment. I really enjoyed that moment because that was one of those. That was one of the first times that I remember WWF taking somebody that I did not see. Like the Rockers were cool and I thought they were fine, but I always thought Marty was the better worker. But to have Shawn break out like that, I mean that was Vince McMahon kind of built his reputation after that on splitting up tag teams and pushing only one guy. But I think Shawn was kind of the beginning of that. I mean, people may say that Brett was the beginning of it, but Brett and Jim never had that issue, But the way that Shawn turned on Marty and then where Shawn went, that kind of to me was the beginning of the trope of breaking up a tag team to push one dude.
No, I think he was absolutely the guinea pig.
Yeah.
Like what did we say before? Patient zero.
Yeah.
He was patient zero. The next one had an effect on me as a young child. I was so upset, not happy about it. That would be the Mega Powers. Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man splitting up over Elizabeth and Macho just going apeshit crazy.
Because Hogan had lust in his eyes.
You got lust in your eyes. Yep. That was a big one for me because they were the two. Like, if you were a kid, they were the ones. It was Hulk Hogan and Macho Man. That was it. If you wanted to be somebody, you wanted to be Hulk Hogan or the Macho Man. And to see him split was not good for me. I was very sad.
And that was long-term booking. That took a year and a half.
Yeah. It was done well.
Yeah, done really well.
Now, the next one you and I have argued about before because technically it's not a heel turn, but it led to the biggest heel character ever, and that was Vince screwing Brett. Without that happening, without the Montreal screw job, you don't get the Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon evil character.
The true heel turn came with Austin and McMahon that really solidified the heel character of Mr. McMahon because that was the main foil. When he did what he did to Brett, that interview he cut on TV that week, he expected to be viewed as the good guy.
See,
he didn't realize he was going to get booed.
I feel like that interview, Vince McMahon didn't screw Brett. Brett screwed Brett. That was the start. That was the turn. That was the genesis of the Mr. McMahon character.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely was. But the payoff of him as a heel, we didn't really get it till Austin. But
True.
But in that moment, Vince was under the impression the fans were going to side with him.
Oh,
so
was he wrong?
That was a happy accident.
It was, but it still led to one of the greatest heel characters ever.
It did.
KO and Sammy, or
That's a good one.
At NXT is the one everybody talks about. But you go even further back when you've got Kevin Steen turning on El Generico.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there have been multiple.
Yeah, they've been turning on each other for years.
One of the big ones, Andre turning on Hogan, joining Bobby the Brain Heenan. That was huge because Andre had been a babyface forever.
I remember that like it was yesterday. I remember the Piper's Pit where they gave Andre the trophy,
Mm-hmm.
and then Hogan had a bigger trophy. And then they had the one where Jesse Ventura was confronting Roddy Piper, and Piper did the whole, or Jesse did the whole, I will produce Andre the Giant right here next week. Can you produce Hogan? And Piper was like, you damn betcha, man. And then the next week, you had the face to face, and Andre walks out with Bobby, and the air comes out of the crowd. And
Yeah.
Hogan's like, wait a minute, what's he doing here? I mean, and then the moment that Andre grabs Hogan's chin and pulls it up and says, I'm here for one reason, to challenge you for a world championship match at the WrestleMania. And Jesse Ventura behind Andre is like, what? Jesse can't believe it. I mean, that was such a moment.
It was huge.
Which led to the one match that sold the whole show.
Mm-hmm.
One match.
Not the best match of the show.
Not the best
match
match.
that sold the whole
the
show.
match.
Well, and we've got Eska 1981 in the chat with another great one. Referee Lloyd siding with Lamigra. I'm going to go with him on that one. That's a good one.
Well, you can only take. Sometimes I guess you can only take so much. Can you?
I'm just saying, there's going to be war between your referees, Rick.
Hey. Well, you know what? I'm okay with that because I firmly believe everyone has their breaking point.
That's true. It's a very true statement. But we'll go ahead and get back to our list because we go off on a whole thing about that. Paul Bearer turning on The Undertaker with Mankind.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Raises up the urn and cracked Undertaker with it.
Yeah. A very recent one that people are still pissed off about. Kofi and Xavier turning on Big E.
Oh, that broke people's hearts.
It did. I bet.
Just because everybody expected Xavier, but when he joined in, that was the moment that the crowd was like, no, not Kofi too. Like, yeah, that was rough. That was rough.
Our next one is one from back in the day, and it's one that the slamming of one cage door kicked off an entire feud, and that being the Freebirds turning on the Von Erichs.
That moment lit Texas on fire.
Sure did.
That is the biggest run of any one single indie regional promotion. And it all came down to that one moment because the Freebirds and the Von Erichs were friends.
Mm-hmm.
They teamed. They took the pictures for Pro Wrestling Illustrated with Michael Hayes with a bottle of Jack Daniels and Kerry Von Erich with a bottle of milk. They were, and then it all leading to Kevin Von Erich saying that this isn't about Texas versus Georgia. This is about decency versus filth.
Yep.
That's
it kicked off one of the hottest feuds ever.
Dude, the Von Erichs Freebirds fed families.
Yes.
That's such a good deal.
And bring it, still staying back a little bit, but bringing it up just a little. Sergeant Slaughter, Mr. G.I. Joe himself deciding, you know what, I don't like America no more. I'm going to go, I like Saddam Hussein. I'm going to be Iraqi for a while.
That dude.
He got death threats.
Dude. He had already turned heel. But the interview that he did walking down the aisle at Survivor Series with his face painted in camo, wearing the chic headdress with his, Foreign Fanatics team around him. And the interview that he cut on the troops that were watching free on the pay-per-view, cutting about them eating their K rations with the sand in it, and all of and that interview got Piper so enraged. I thought he was going to have a stroke. I mean, the Slaughter thing went off the rails when they made the decision to put the belt on him right after we declared war. But
there was a moment of probably should have thought about that.
But the build between SummerSlam and the Rumble was some of the best heel work. And Slaughter had been a heel before, but
not like that.
but not like that. Not like that. That was G.I. Joe, man.
6 months. He had to have security walk him out of the building.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
For every show for 6 months.
They had security detail at his home. His wife couldn't leave the house without security detail.
Absolutely. It was insanity.
That was, absolute insanity.
Our next one, Austin Idol turning on Jerry Lawler.
Oh, God. Austin Idol and Jerry Lawler had been friends, and they had been enemies. They'd been friends, and they'd been enemies. But Lawler was feuding with Tommy Rich and Paulie Dangerously, and Austin Idol was helping him out till he turned. And then they had that big cage match in Memphis where Austin Idol said, Lawler, put your hair on the line, and I'll put up enough money to cover everybody's tickets if I lose. I'll refund the entire building if I lose. And they had that cage that was like the Thunderdome, like the Hell in a Cell that covered the ringside area. And just when you thought Lawler was going to win, Tommy Rich was under the ring, and he came out, and they double-teamed him. They beat the hell out of him, and they pulled him crotch first into the pole like 3 times, ruptured his testicle for real, and then shaved his head, played with his hair, and put it in a little baggie. The fans started climbing the cage. There was almost a near riot in the Mid-South Coliseum.
It was. You want to talk about
and
near?
You can watch that on YouTube. You can go watch that match on YouTube.
And I suggest everybody does. But you want to talk about near riots? How about when Taz turned on ECW in the ECW arena?
Oh, because he said his neck was broken and nobody checked on him. But Bill Alfonso. Fonzie was the only one who checked on him. And he did the infamous line, "You don't give a fuck about Bill Alfonso. You don't give a fuck about me. Well, I don't give a fuck about you." And oh my God. Like
people lost their shit.
Lost their mind. I mean, that's a huge moment for ECW.
Because everybody loved Taz.
Yeah.
Then, of course, that brings us to our most recent one, the heel turn of John Cena. And I'm going to tell you why I'm going to tell you why I like this heel turn so much, because this is not a heel turn. This is you know what? Screw you. Screw all of you. It doesn't have that, I'm on the bad side now. It's, you know what? I don't give a shit anymore. And to me, that's where you get the heel turn, is I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
So
I do have a couple of honorable mentions, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
The one that I think stands out for me the most is when Barry Windham turned on Lex Luger and joined the Four Horsemen at the Clash of Champions, and that was huge. And then the other one, same company, but it was a double turn. They didn't just turn on one person; they turned on 2 people in 2 separate incidents. When the Road Warriors turned on Sting. And then the next week on TV, when Dusty called him out,
they turned on
Dusty and they stabbed him in the eye with the spike. You know, those were two really good heel turns.
I'll throw one more out there just for fun, and that's when Orndorff turned on Hogan because Hogan didn't answer the call.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't take the call.
All you had to do is
so
take the
good.
call.
Oh, that was so good. The
Like, there
turn was so good.
have been some crazy turns, crazy heel turns throughout the years. This is just a taste of them. I mean, that brings us to our 925 mark. That's the end of our list. So, number one, I hope everybody is enjoying the new format we're doing, where we're kind of spending a little more time talking, a little less time reviewing. This has been a lot of fun for me. Rick, I hope you've had a good time.
Absolutely. I always have a good time.
We will be doing a watch along tomorrow night live for SmackDown. I hope everybody joins us for that. You can go as soon as we're done, go to the About section of any of our socials or right here on Twitch, and you'll find the link to join our Discord. And we'll be starting at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. As we've gotten to that point, as we do every time, it's time for you to speak to the people watching, the people listening, to the wrestling world in general. What, sir, are your final thoughts?
Fans suck, and
that was unexpected.
Here's, and I'll try to be brief. I hate more than anything. I hate a lot of things about wrestling fans, but I think the thing I hate the most is fans that try to have a gigantic opinion about a subject, but have no idea what they're actually talking about.
I get that.
I hate when somebody says, "Oh, I don't like how this is going," but they have no historical context for what they're actually, why this is happening, or why it may have happened in the past. So I would just say that if you're going to be somebody who expresses an opinion about wrestling, I'm also going to need you to do a little bit of research and maybe learn a little bit of history, because otherwise, almost assuredly, you're making an ass of yourself the second you open your mouth. And learned wrestling fans, people who have historical context, have no time for you. So maybe get a clue and don't be so much of a waste of space.
Damn, that's to the point right there now. Well, and I will say there are different levels of learned fans. You know, for instance, you and I, you know, we came up in a time where the wrestling world was a lot different than it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you take somebody like Little Guapo. His wrestling started about the time the Attitude Era started. That's when he started learning things. So for him to speak now about something that happened in the Attitude Era, very learned about these things. But for him to speak about Hogan turning, or Orndorff turning on Hogan, yeah, he's not going to know much about that. So I will say there's different levels of being a learned wrestling fan.
And there are levels, but we live in the information age where you have information at a click, and there's no reason why you can't go look something up.
That's very true. That is very true. I will say I've been saving this to the end because I'm a little shocked by it. But we've had a request for a shout out on the podcast and a potential sponsorship to the podcast. So I'm going to say this, and I can't believe that I am. But if you get the opportunity, if you find yourself online, go check out www.guerrillamilitia.com for merch and upcoming events.
Oh, that is nice. That is nice.
I said it, and I smiled when I did. And no, J-Rick, not Tiffy time. Though I am not. I just got called a sellout.
Well, I mean, did you sell out or did you buy in?
See, that's a valid question. And that's why I enjoy having you on my show.
Hey, one person's trash is another person's treasure. One
I'm
person's sellout is another person's buy-in.
I'm going to go ahead and say I'm on the treasure side of this because it sounds better.
Oh yeah, because I don't hang out with trash.
See, there you go.
And on May 24th, I'm going to take a lot of trash out.
And I am so interested to see how this turns out. May 24th can't get here fast enough. That does bring us to the 9:30 mark, though. I do want to thank everybody who's been in the chat, everybody that's watching, everybody that's listening. Thank you so much for giving us a platform to do this, to be able to talk wrestling with everybody. Rick, thank you for joining the show. Always a pleasure to have you on.
Always.
We will be back next week with a special guest. Special guest host from the Wrestling Society Network, the one and only Professor Bear, going to be joining us on the show. We'll talk some WrestleMania. We'll talk about the week in review. We'll have a question up for you. We'll have a lot of fun with it. So I hope to see everybody next Thursday. Until then, I'm Guapo. That's Rick Elsey. We're not your average marks. See y'all next week. Yeah.
Inside my head.